Hey, football fans, welcome back to another episode of Lions Latest, the show we gather on to talk about the greatest team in the NFL, the Detroit Lions. I'm your host, Bryan Hanes, and before we get started, a huge thanks to Kalshi for sponsoring today's video. For a limited time, when you're betting on football, use code FANARCHFOOTBALL to get $10 when you deposit $10. Thank you to Kalshi. And yeah, we got some stuff to talk about today, mostly surrounding just management and what's going on right now. Starting off with some injury news, an alert actually. I would call it an alert because it's a pretty big player. Dan Campbell provided updates recently regarding why wide receiver Jameson Williams and cornerback Nick Whiteside missed practice this past Sunday afternoon. Williams will not practice, or rather, didn't practice on Monday as he is dealing with a shoulder issue. Whiteside is dealing with a hamstring injury. Both injuries are not currently considered serious, but both are expected to miss a few practices, right? Both have had a great start to camp. Jameson Williams has been catching most of his targets and has been looking really great in his routes. Nick Whiteside has been continuing to impress, being that guy who came in last season for the Legion of Boom and really stood out the most. Now he is back in training camp. He's getting that opportunity, and apparently Dan Campbell has only seen good things coming from him so far. So two guys we really need to be ready to go and not dealing with injuries. He's also battling with Rock Ya-Sin and Ennis Rakestraw right now for an opportunity to play outside with DJ Reed. Dan Campbell went on to say, quote, "I don't know if it's exceeded. I mean, I know we like the guys that we acquired going into camp and that we have on the roster. We like the potential between the youth and the veteran guys that we've got, the skill set. So we had an idea it would be pretty competitive, and then look, that's the mindset too. We don't have time to waste. We can't wait for anybody. We're out to get the job done, and we can't mess around," end quote. So yeah, basically next man up mentality, right? Obviously they want to get the guys ready as quick as possible, but he's basically saying we prepared for this offseason. We grabbed guys that we feel are ready to go, that we're comfortable putting out their next man up mentality, and that's just what you have to do in this sport. I'm really more worried about some of our impact players missing extended time. That's really more scary for me. I know it's a part of the game. I know guys are going to get injured from here to there, and it's going to happen once in a while. And it's good that it's not considered serious right now, but we can't have another offseason like we've had the last 2 years. I can't handle another big injury to a player that we need to be successful this season. Thankfully, it seems to be okay, but seriously, I get worried when I see these injury alerts because I always look to see, is it serious? We've gotten pretty lucky so far, besides guys like Cade Mays and Kendrick Law, but we got to still make sure that we're being safe here. I don't want to say it is time, but do you guys think it's time to reopen the discussion about the training staff and whether or not that the fields are taken care of? All that stuff, that was a big discussion last year. Do you think it's time to reopen that hash, or do we let it rest and just, let them do what they've been doing and see what happens at the end of camp? Because personally, I think this camp has been a lot better this season. We got to make it to the end here, right? Not done till it's not over till it's over, right? You guys let me know what you think. For our second topic of the day, talking about the center situation. We got to go back to the center situation. This time it's more directed at Brad Holmes because not only fans now, but media outlets are basically saying, Brad Holmes, there are so many players you could get right now to fill in that center position. Why aren't you going and doing it? Because if we do not figure things out at center, we might have to end up making a trade before cut downs. One name that is worth looking into right now, just based on overall value and what we can get out of him, is Watimi. The Seattle Seahawks have him as their center, and they actually have two centers right now capable of starting. They could honestly move on from this guy because he is slated to be the backup as of now. He's also in the final year of his rookie contract, and the odds are a team that suffers an injury at center like we are and are not necessarily desperate but super in the market to grab a center right now are looking to get something. And if you offer them something that's really too good to pass up on for a backup center, there's a good chance we can end up getting him. Now, I know that this is crazy coming from me because I've been so big on not grabbing another center before the season starts and just working with what we have and letting Juice Scruggs hold it down. But in this deal, it basically includes future time, long-term value, a guy who's on the end of his rookie deal, and we're going to get into also his starts and his experience at the position already And if we can end up getting it for a pretty cheap cost, I would say that's the deal to rip, right? It really ends up depending on what Seattle wants, though. Given he was not a starter and is still not signed, the Lions should be able to go and acquire him without spending too much draft capital. It would most likely have to be picks, maybe a player we got right now, maybe like Peyton Turner, I don't know, something like that maybe, but it shouldn't be too much. So, okay, we got that base checked. Now, let's go to who we already have. Well, why should we get another guy? Scruggs has experience, Juice Scruggs, has experience in the NFL at center already and might get a longer look in the preseason. Still, though, he's last place center in 2024, and the team moved him to guard in 2025 and traded him the next year in 2026. So, downward slope for his overall value, it seems, in the last 3 years. Apparently, he has been looked and seemed to hold things down so far on that first team offensive line, but it is not the same as having Mays. That is what I have seen in training camp, and that is what it seemed to look like during the preseason game. Now, Oluwatimi is a fifth-round pick from the 2023 NFL draft. So already, fifth-round pick. It's not like they're going to have to get their capital back from taking him in the second or third round, right? He spent the first 3 seasons with Seattle. They drafted him. However, he has just 13 starts in 3 NFL seasons. Why? He only started in 1 game as a rookie. Then in his second NFL season, he missed the start of the year, but came back and closed things out as a starter. He had 431 snaps and 8 starts at center. Unfortunately, all that hype did not carry on to the next year. He was only healthy for 8 games and started in only 4 of them. Still, he still has 871 career snaps at center, which is more than Scruggs, McClellan, and Ratledge combined. So, while he hasn't necessarily been that starting guy, right? I don't think that's what we're looking for right now. I don't think we're looking for a starting center in his prime right now. I don't think that's something we can even afford right now. And it's like, why would you do that if you already have another guy like that locked up for the next 3 years? In my opinion, this is the exact ideal trade you would want right now if you're Brad Holmes. You go get him. If there is a slim chance that he can outperform who we already have and stay healthy for the start of the season until Mays is back, we have basically gotten our backup center for at least this year and who knows how much longer after that. And I assume for a pretty cheap price. I don't think we should be targeting any players in their primes. Maybe a vet if he brings that veteran experience and can work out a few games, right? But something needs to be done soon. We can't just keep doing this, believe in our players and expect them to perform like an all-pro starter every single game. I know Brad Holmes likes his guys and is comfortable with his guys and he believes in his guys first, but there is a time and a place to make a change when you really need to, and I think this is one of those rare opportunities or rare circumstances where you just need to pull the trigger on him. I like what he brings. I like that you can get a little more out of him going forward even after Mays is back, just because he brings that starting experience and he also brings a very young, moldable brain who you can kind of get and develop. And this is the ideal trade. This is the kind I would go for. Otherwise, I would say just let Juice Scruggs tough it out until Mays comes back. You guys let me know what you think and if there's another player similar like this that you would want instead. Now, quickly, we just got to talk about the sponsor of our video today, Kalshi. Before the season even kicks off, everyone's starting to make predictions. Who's going to win the season? Who's going to win the division? Who's making the playoffs? Who's lifting the trophy at the season's end? On Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade those predictions in a live market. I personally had Luke Altmaier last preseason game going 200 plus yards. It didn't happen, but we're going to go again in this next preseason game because I believe in my boy. And it would have made me some great money, but unfortunately, it just wasn't his day. Doesn't mean it can't be your day in this next preseason game. Let's look at some props going on for this upcoming season, right? Will the Lions qualify for the playoffs this season? Personally, I think it's going to happen. And right now, the Lions are trading at 66%, meaning a $100 trade would pay out to $148 if they just clinch a playoff spot. Very possible that's an extra bit of money in your pocket. And then in terms of total wins, I've said that I think the Lions will win at least 10 games this season, and that odds are currently trading at 71%, meaning $100 is going to pay out to $134 if the Lions can just reach 10 wins. And then finally, league-specific stuff, the AFC, the NFC Championship. Who's going to win it? I think the Lions, again, have a good shot. That offense is pretty good, and May should be back by then. It is currently trading at a very low 9%, meaning a $100 trade is going to get you $1,044 if they go home with the NFC North or the NFC title, period. So if you believe in these guys, it's a great way to make some cash. On Kalshi, you're also trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house against you. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. Trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Kalshi. Download the Kalshi app and use code FANARCHFOOTBALL to get $10 when you trade $10. Kalshi. Kalshi. Trade on anything. Thank you, Kalshi. And for our third topic today, back to Dan Campbell, back to players, back to preseason games. Dan Campbell has said that the starters are going to play. Whoa. Very unlike Dan Campbell. He said that he will play a significant amount of starters in the second preseason game that is set on Saturday against the Commanders at Ford Field. And he said, quote, "That's my plan right now." But he also said, quote, "Not everybody will play. So don't expect them to be throwing out every single starter. Don't expect the entire regular season offense and defense to be on the field for parts of this game. And also, don't expect to see the starters that are on for much more than, I don't know, maybe the first quarter at most. But lots of teams, let's start with this. Lots of teams do this. Lots of teams have been doing this. In the week one slate of preseason games, we already saw multiple teams starting their starters. Burrow was out there against us for a little bit. My issue is what can happen to starters in preseason games, right? It could happen in a regular season game, yeah, but if you throw a starter out there against a guy who is fighting like heck to get to a roster spot and basically has nothing to lose, like, he doesn't have the same talent level as the starter guys, maybe. He's not going to maybe push guys out of the way as much, but he's going to play violent. And I don't want that against my guy, especially Goff, before the season starts. I don't need my stationary quarterback playing against guys who are fighting for everything for their chance. That scares me. Back in March, Campbell first mentioned that he was considering giving the Lions veteran starters snaps in the preseason, something he has refrained from doing in the past 3 years. This is why this is so surprising to me. He raised the possibility because the Lions had decided against holding joint practices in training camp. Several projected starters, including right tackle Blake Miller, Christian Mahogany on left guard, receiver Isaac Tesla, already saw action in the first preseason game where we lost to Cincinnati. The question is if the bigger stars like Jared Goff, St. Brown, Gibbs, Hutch, Campbell, are they going to be on the field? And maybe for a little bit, but I can't imagine you throw a guy like Gibbs who you just paid into a preseason game where there's a chance he get hurt. That's a horrible idea. Campbell ended up revealing no details after asked about if he could give out any, but we will wait and see what the lineup will look like when it rolls around on Saturday. Personally, don't do it. Gibbs should not touch the field. Sure, let the kids, show up, let him dress, whatever. He shouldn't touch the field. Unless you are kneeling the ball, he should be off the field. We just paid him a lot of money, and he is going to be the workhorse of our offense, besides Jared Goff. But when we're worrying about a center issue, it's like, how much time is Jared Goff going to have to pass on certain downs? Jameer Gibbs is going to be our workhorse this year. That's the one guy I don't want to see on the field. Let Goff go in for a couple drives, right? Let Sewell do his thing. Let Aiden Hutchinson try to get a couple sacks in the first drive or two. Stuff like that, right? St. Brown will try to get in there. He'll probably get a catch or two. But truly, I don't think we should be risking anything at this point in the season. We've already lost our center. We really can't afford to lose any more big players on that offense or defense, for that matter. You guys let me know what you think. For our fourth and final topic, just some of your comments. Brian Bemis says, Tate would be terrible at center. Please just keep who we have at center and keep developing them. Well, I don't necessarily think we should be developing Scruggs. He's at a point in his career where I don't think he really needs much developing. But to your point, I think this is a scenario where going and grabbing that younger guy who's just coming off of his rookie deal as technically a backup with starting experience is the perfect idea. Go and develop that guy. Bring him on your team and just mold him into the player you want for the future in case Cade Mays doesn't work out. It's always good to have a backup center, and I think that would be the scenario where you go do it. In that case, I would agree with you, Brian. Also, love the name. Thank you for your comments. Now moving on to Official Grinding Gears, who says, kinda an unrelated comment, but have you heard of the new Cosm they built downtown? Would be an epic place to watch games, especially being a fraction of the cost than a Lions game ticket. Yeah, I did see it, and I drive past it quite a lot. It looks sweet, and if they're doing games there, I will you'll see me there. We can chat it up, dude. Because personally, when football season rolls around, yeah, I love football and I love being at football games. But we all know the Lions tickets are quite expensive, and you can't go to all the games. So yeah, when it's the leaves are turning different colors, when you get that breeze outside and you just want to watch some football, heck yeah, you will catch me buying a cheap ticket just to see some guys throwing the pigskin. Sounds like a good time. Thank you for letting me know about that. I saw they were building it. Didn't know there were going to be games going on. I will definitely be looking more into that. Thank you both so much for your comments. With that being said, we're out of time today in this video. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Lions Latest. If you made it to this point in the video, please tell me what you think. Should we go get that other center? Should we get a younger guy? Or do we stay with Juice Scruggs until Mays makes his return? Let me know in the comments, and make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss a single video here. Thanks again to Kalshi for sponsoring this video, and enjoy the rest of your day.